All right. Hope this video finds everybody doing okay. And I wanted to take this time to talk about a few things before we get into the big chapter on World War II, chapter 28. Okay. There is a saying that I heard back when I was a little boy, and it always resonated with me, and it always kind of held true. And especially held true the more of life I experienced. And that saying was, hard times make hard people. And I'm sure you can think of it as kind of one of those bumper sticker sayings, but for me, it's kind of really been true. Like it's kind of really resonated with me quite a bit. And when we look at the United States in the Great Depression, and when we look at the United States throughout World War II, um, that is a really good axiom that holds true. Okay, hard times make hard people, and I think that's what we have to really understand this period in time. Right? You have the collapse of the stock market. You have the collapse of the American economy. You have over 25% unemployment, and you have events that come along to test the American people to really see what in the hell they're made of. And I think this is really, really, really important to understand. Okay. Of course, you have the Great Depression, and essentially it's the great unknown, right? The no one really knew what would happen when the economy collapsed, and the Great Depression kind of shows you, but it also shows you how people are willing to survive and get by. You can look at Hoovervilles. You can look at people on the road. You can look at people, selling everything they own and buying a truck and headed out to California because they heard that there's work there. Um, and that's pretty gutsy, right? When you think about it, that's pretty gutsy and pretty bold. Um, but that's kind of what happens when Americans are faced with the Great Depression. Okay. Now, of course, you have Roosevelt come in and he's going to save everybody. And the main way that he's going to save everybody is through the expansion of the federal government, right? Roosevelt loves power and he loves to control and wield that power. And to him, the idea of great, big, huge, massive federal government, that's the greatest, wonderful joy in the world, right? Um, and there's certainly some concerns that go along with that, but not too many for Roosevelt. Okay, so if we look at the Great Depression, if we look at World War II, a key issue that we can come out of these is the growth of American government and the empowerment of American government. Okay, meaning these people just kind of make stuff up as they go, and the more power that they can take, the more they're going to do. Okay. Um, and you can take a look at the effects of that on the Great Depression. There's a few scholars that have said it extended the Great Depression, made it longer, because Roosevelt, he tried one thing that wouldn't really work. He tried another thing that wouldn't really work. And he just kind of keep going without any type of systematic approach to it, which is definitely a concern when you're dealing with something like economic depression. Okay? Now, the other issue is while that's going on within the United States, you also have to take a look at what else is going on in other parts of the world. Okay. Now, y'all studied the rise of Adolf Hitler, so you ought to have a pretty good grasp on that, right? When everything is broken and in the toilet, very few people want to be a leader, right? Nobody wants to have to deal with all the problems and nightmares of fixing a country. Yet Adolf Hitler was megalomaniacal enough to not only take on that responsibility, but also revere and relish that chance, right? Just the rise to power. Same thing that we can say with Joseph Stalin, right? Um, a literally a thug, like a shooter, a pipe hitter, a thief, a yeg, all that stuff. Bad guy, like a bad dude. Uh, and he rises to power, right? In fact, it's so bad. Lenin, right, his predecessor, is on his deathbed, and they're discussing who's supposed to succeed him. It says, whoever you pick, don't pick Stalin because he's the wrong guy. He's a thug. He's evil. He's vicious. Just don't pick Stalin. But sure enough, that's exactly what happens. Is they pick Stalin. Okay, so that's a little bit of a concern. Um, so throughout Europe and in Japan, we see a rise of these individuals who commandeer their governments, and you see a rise in dictatorship. Okay? Again, when everything's bad, very, very, very few people are willing to step up and be a leader. Okay? And it's those differences, those challenges that most people shy away from that these people are kind of drawn to. All right? And while this is happening, we've got more than enough problems of our own back home to kind of think about fixing this stuff. Okay? So, one issue is after World War One, and after saving Europe, and after having mixed results with that, a lot of Americans want to be isolationists. Okay? They want to stay out of the international game. And the reinforcing idea of our stock market crashing and all these other various issues that happen. Go on, baby. Go on. Just trying to get in the video again. Um, all the stock market crashing and the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl and all these other additional problems, we got our hands full, right? And so because we have our hands full, we're not going to necessarily entertain outside intervention in other wars, okay? And that's how we can think of World War One as started, okay? As Americans, we tend to think we're the only important people in the story, right? I mean, back to back World War II, we're back to back World War champs, right? What the T-shirt says. Well, the actuality is a little bit different, okay? And understanding that actuality is key to understanding the war, okay? Now, truthfully, the whole thing kicks off with Japan invading China, right? Now, 1937, Japan invades China. Little bitty country, not that many resources. Particularly, they need oil and lots of it. And at the time, China is going through a civil war. Okay? China, 1911, China ends its dynastic period, meaning you used to have an emperor of China, and every time you'd have his bloodline kind of go for a couple hundred years, and then the thing would die out. Then a new emperor would rise up. So that's how you have different periods in China. So, 1911, that's the end of dynastic China. Okay? So you're going to have modern China. Well, what does that mean? Well, Chinese people are going to have to figure out how do they become a modern, civilized nation and kind of catch up with the rest of the world without kind of plunging into civil war. Okay. Now, of course, what obviously happens with China right after all this goes down, well, they fall into civil war, right? And this goes on for quite a while, about 20 plus years, right? Now, we have as Americans, we have a really, really, really bad track record of picking the wrong guy. And this is exactly what we did in China, right? You've got a guy by the name of Chiang Kai-shek, who is a Chinese nationalist, right? He wants to unite China, peace, love, rainbow hugs, and all that nonsense, and bring China together under one political entity, based off love and respect or whatever, right? Now, you can you can tell by my sarcasm how just that's a little bit ridiculous for China. All right, now the next guy is Mao Zedong, right? And Mao Zedong is vicious and evil, and sorry, vicious and evil and awful, right? And he says that all political power comes out of a gun, right? So Mao Zedong is a thug and a bad guy. And so China falls into civil war, right, in the 30s, right? And so they're fighting each other, and it's just really awful. It's really terrible. Well, add on to this the fact that Japan invades China in 1937. Shush, shush, young lady. Come here. Come here. And so China gets invaded by the Japanese, and they end up fighting it out pretty tough. Okay? And this goes on for years, right? So much so that it's getting close, it becomes 1940, and Japan has to figure out what are they going to do about fighting a war against China, but also expanding their presence out into the Pacific. Okay? Now, you can kind of follow this under one of the worst bad ideas ever in the history of man. Okay? But what happened is a whole bunch of generals and a whole bunch of smarty pantses get a hold of Japan's government. And they say, you know what? Here's the plan. Right, here's the plan. We're going to attack the United States at Pearl Harbor. We're going to blow up all their ships. We're going to knock them out like that, right? And once we do that, it'll be amazing. Because if they can knock out the United States in one fell swoop, crush and destroy all of our naval ships, that will cut off our access to the Pacific, right? I mean, it takes like a couple of years to build an aircraft carrier and build a great big destroyer or battleship, whatever. I mean, destroyers you can crank out, but battleships are just like great big and massive, right? So they decide to attack the United States to crush us, knock us out of the Pacific, and then they can finish their war with China. Okay? So that's the key. Sorry. Oh gosh. All right. All right. Sorry. Oh, I'm keep going. I'm keep going. All right. So that's why it's important to understand the link between everything that happens before World War II, before World War II kicks off proper. Okay. So my next video, that's will be kind of the updated issue of where I go from there. So hopefully, if you got any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys later on. Bye.